So a method or function can be used to write the code that you wanted to call repeatedly. So it will take some values as parameters. So it will do some operations and it will return the result. So here in the example you can see calculate discount is a function. So the rest it will do calculate the discount and it will return the discounted amount. So a function do particular piece of action or operation. So it is a generalized method that can be called from anywhere with these parameters amount and discount. So here the amount and discount are called parameters. So here the float is the return type. So what is the value this function will return? So the float represents the return type. So it will calculate the discounted amount and it will return the discounted amount. We will see the example of it. So in this program I wanted to give the discount of fixed $5. So where should I change the program? So wherever I am doing the calculation for the discount, I should change it. So I am doing the calculations for the discount in all three places. I am doing it here, I am doing it here. So this is a kind of code duplication. The same kind of code, only the discount parameter is the changing. So if I have to do fixed $5 discount, I have to say 5 in all three places. So to make it uniform, so if I forget to make at one place, then that will be a problem. So to avoid such situations, we can create a function which will calculate the discount for us. So I am creating a function calculate discount. So which will take so this function will take discount and the amount as parameters, and here it will calculate the discount. So this constant which is getting changed, here I will replace with discount and I will return the. So here order amount is the local variable for this function. So the variables that you define inside a function is accessible only in that function. So you cannot access those variables outside the function. So the scope of the variable that are defined inside the function is up to the function block. So I have the amount and the discount. So I have used that and I have written the calculated the discount and returned. So because these variables also defined inside the function with name main. So that's why we are not able to access these variables in the other function. So I will explain what is the static ladder. So we have defined the function. So now how can I call this function? So wherever we are using the calculation for discount, there we can call this function calculate discount. So the amount is total amount and the discount is 10% that we want to give here. So I have called this function. So the return value of this function is getting assigned to this variable. So the calculated discount will be returned by this function and is getting assigned to this variable, and we are printing the value of the bill amount. Now I will run this program. So we did not get any discount because the order amount is 102. So I will change the order amount to 200. Now this block of code will get executed and we will get the discount. So the bill amount, the discounted amount is 160. Suppose if I wanted to give you a fixed $5 discount for all, so I can just change it here. So without, you can change any calculation over here. So that will get affected in all the places. So that is the advantage of function. So you can reduce the repetitive or duplicate code. So is that clear? The program execution, when it comes to this function, so it will jumps to this function and it executes the statements inside the function. Once the function is completed, it will return back to the location from where the function is called and it will execute from there onwards. So if you wanted to return from the function, you can use this return statement. So array can be, you can assign with loop statement So array has the, when you define the array has the property length. So the data type of I is integer. So instead of all these statements, I can write using a loop like this. So here I is the index and here the I is the value. So so in the first iteration the value of I is 0. So ARR of 0 will be assigned to 0. In the for the next iteration it will execute this increment statement and it will assign the ARR of 1 to 1. So for each iteration it will increment the value of I. So until the length of the array is reached. So the length of the array is 5. So till I less than 5 it will run this program and it will assign the values. So arrays you can access through index. So index can be specified with this braces. Similarly, you can define multi-dimension arrays. So there is one more dimension added. It has 2 rows and 5 columns. So multi-dimensional arrays, how can you access multi-dimensional arrays? So in multi-dimensional arrays, you need to use 2 loops. So we need to define with 2 indexes because there are 2 dimensions, so rows and columns. So we need to define with 2 indexes. So the first index, so how this will execute? So in the first row, first iteration, so it will execute for the first row. For all the columns, 5 columns, it will set the values. So this is the 2-dimensional array that got printed. Because for each column I am assigning the value 0. In the first iteration I find the value 0. So for each column the value is assigned to 0. So with this system.out.print statement I have printed the values in the first row, all columns. So the difference between print and println is, so if you use println, it will print the values in the next line. if you use the print, it will print in the same line. So the first 5 columns I have printed in the same line. So after that I have shifted to the next line during the next iteration. So it has printed in the next line. So this is how you can access multi-dimensional arrays. So this is the default initialization of the array. So I am assigning some numbers. So in this array, calculate the maximum number. So you can write the array and you can print, you can write the code for calculating the maximum number in the array and you can print that value. So you can send me this assignment code. So I will mail you this class Java programs. So you can fill the code here for calculating the maximum number. So take the same template assignment and sort the numbers in the array. So you write the logic for calculating the maximum number and sorting the numbers in the array. So you can write these two logics and you can send me so I can verify and I can give you the feedback. So till now we have seen the programming constructs. So now we will enter into the object-oriented programming. So what is object-oriented programming? So till now we have given instructions in the form of sequence of statements. So there is, all you are doing is calculations and returning the results. So object-oriented programming, objects, you will create objects which represents the real world entities. Suppose if you take a person, he is an object. So he has the attributes, name, age, he can have some other special operations that he can do. He can walk, he can run. So each object has attributes and operations or functions that it can do. So attributes represents the state of the object. So and operations represents how the object acts and reacts based on situations, based on the attributes of the object. So object-oriented programming, so object represents the real world entities. So in normal programming till now we have seen we did not define any objects. So it's a sequence of instructions that we are giving to the computer. So in object-oriented programming, programming is done in the form of objects and how the objects communicate with each other. So class, what is a class? Class is a blueprint of an object. So all objects are created from class. So you will define in the class the structure of the object. So what an object should have, the parameters, attributes, and what the object can do, all its operations you will define in a class. So class is the template for an object. So for a class there can be hundreds of objects. Object is a instance of class. So in Java, object is created from a class. So now I will create a class name person. So this is an entity. So a person, we wanted to represent a person in the form of a object. So this is a class. So what are the attributes that a person can have? So he will have a name, so sequence of characters. So we will use a data type called string. This is not primitive data type that we have discussed till now. So this is a data type from the Java library. So whenever we wanted to represent names or sequence of characters, we can use this data type string. So he can have age, height, weight. So based on our need we can define all, there might be so many hundreds of parameters if you wanted to represent a person. So based on our need we can represent the attributes. So after that I can define the operations or functions that a person can do. So he can walk, so we will discuss about what is this void. So like this we can define the operations in a function. So this, we have defined a class for the person. So this represents a real world entity. So from this class I can create multiple instances. Person. So here P1 is the object. So John is the person. So like this you can set the values for the attributes of a Jan. Similarly, I can create one more person. So now John and Bob are the objects of type class person. So I can say John dot walk Bob. So these are the operations invoked on a object. So I will execute this program. See, the first when it invoke this walk, so it has called this function, and I did not pass any parameter to this walk function. So this name has been taken from the object. Similarly, so when I call this walk function on Bob object, so it has printed walking Bob. So the name has been taken from the object. So the scope of the attributes are variables that are defined at class level are accessible for all the functions or operations that are defined inside the class. You need not define it here. So if you define a variable inside a function or inside a member, it is not accessible here. So it says x cannot be resolved to a variable. So it doesn't know what is this x. But it knows if you use the name over here, it knows the name because it is defined at the class level. The scope of the variable that is defined at class level can be accessed at member functions. So if you define a variable inside a member function, the scope of the variable is up to that member function only. It cannot be accessed outside the member function. So here we have defined person as a class and we have created two objects of a person, John and Bob, and we set the attributes and we invoke the member functions on those objects. Object represents the real world entity. It has some attributes and it has some operations, or we call it as member functions. Attributes represents the state of the object. Member function represents the how operation acts or reacts. So is that clear? So the definition of object and class. So that is how we can define the class. So we can organize, if you are writing a programs, you might result in writing hundreds of classes like that. So in such situation, how can we organize the classes in Java programming? So Java has a notation called packages. So you can organize the classes into different packages. How can you make a package in Java class? So you can define this class belongs to the package humans. So when you define the package, this class should be available in that package. So I will create a package with name humans. So the package got created with name humans. So I have to move this class to that package. So when you define a package for a class, the class should be in the package. So what Java will do internally is it will create a folder structure with these packages. So if we look at how it is organized in file system, so a folder will be created for each package. So you can define any levels of packages, so with separation of dot. So this is earth is the sub package in the package humans. So now I need to create a sub package so I need to move this to the sub package. So now this is person is belongs to the package human.earth. So if you look at the file system, so one more folder gets created inside humans and earth. The Java file is available. So for each package, a folder will be created in the file system and the class will be placed inside that. So if you have to refer this class, if you say person, there might be 100 person classes might exist, but so the qualified name for this person class will be package name dot person. So humans dot just dot. So this is the qualified name for this class person. So if you say a class name, so it is includes with package name plus class name. So this is how we call it as a class name, fully qualified class name. Class name is person and its fully qualified name is package name dot person. So this is how you can organize your classes into different packages. So Eclipse, it is showing in a flat structure. So I wanted to change it to hierarchical structure.